my dream job came to a finish. It was my dream job working at Wyatt Cattaneo Studios. It was an opportunity. It was a golden ticket, and it was gone. And back then, I thought that there was maybe only one golden ticket per person per lifetime. So the fact that this job was over really hit me hard, like crushed me, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. That job is all I wanted to do. It's all I had done for 5 years, the first 5 years of my professional career, and I loved it. I didn't want to stop working with the people I worked with. I didn't want to stop traveling to that studio in London. I wanted this to be a continuation and to retire from this place. So when everything came to a head and everything stopped, it was devastating, and I was in a low place, and it had just, the redundancy, the information that the studio was closing happened weeks before I had a vacation booked. So this vacation I took to Turkey it should have been a great vacation. It should have been like a really, wonderful experience, but my mood going into it was rock bottom. I was trying to, I thought maybe if I was in a different country that it would distract me enough that I would forget that back home I was unemployed. But I was in a low place. So I didn't sign on to unemployment. I didn't want to. I felt like that was the period at the end of the sentence which made everything that just happened kind of concrete and real. So I kind of delayed signing on to unemployment, thinking that, maybe Richard Olive or one of the other people that are associated with the studio would change their mind and resurrect Wyatt Cattaneo, from the ashes, before it was too late, before everything had been cleared out. And I was hanging on to this frail thread, and I just believed that if this didn't happen, there wasn't going to be anything to replace it afterwards. And I was in this low place. I was wallowing in my grief, and I didn't think anything could happen to make a difference. And I remember I sent my portfolio to Disney, and we've already spoken about all the drama that goes into trying to get a job before the internet. And one of the things we didn't mention was when a company requested that you send your portfolio. So the portfolio is huge and heavy and costs an arm and a leg to send. And I was applying to Disney Animation, feature animation in Burbank. And they requested that I send my portfolio. So I had to send this huge, great, cumbersome portfolio with all my artwork in. It weighed a good bit, and I had to send that across the Atlantic to America and hope that my artwork came back safe, whenever it came back. And it was gone for weeks, and I remember for those weeks that was my one glimmer of hope that kept me going. It was my one chance at something happening, something to follow Wyatt Cattaneo animation. And I remember when I got the portfolio back, and I remember looking at the letter, and it had the Mickey Mouse on the header, and Mickey Mouse at an animation desk, with his pencil. And I remember I read that it had gone through a couple of rounds and been rejected, and my tiny glimmer of hope, my tiny flame fizzled out like really quickly, and I was very not very happy with Disney at that point. I was like, damn you Mickey, because they'd spent so long with my portfolio. So I'd been in limbo. I hadn't got a showreel or portfolio to take anywhere because Disney had it. They had it in America, so I had to wait for them to post it back. So for all those weeks it was gone. And then out of the blue I had a phone call, and at Wyatt Cattaneo I worked in this close-knit group in this office, and in the group there were 4 of us. There was myself, Jason Ivermy, Gavin Nichols, and Steve Rawlins. And Steve Rawlins was at that time he was the assistant editor. And it was Steve Rawlins on the phone. Why is Steve calling me? And he said, I could hear like noise in the background. He was calling from some bar or something. And he said, "Oh, just being out with the guys from ILM." Like, what are you talking about? Like, what the hell are you talking about? It turns out that he'd gone to see a lecture about how they did the CG dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, and he'd stayed to kind of like chat with them after the lecture was over, and chat. Steve Rawlins is a really nice guy, so I can see this happening. Chat. Oh, well, we'll go to a bar. You should come with us to a bar. And so he ended up going to this bar with these guys from ILM, and it was mainly Ellen Poon and Wes Takahashi. And he went to a bar with them and was chatting with them and convinced them that he was someone that they should potentially hire. So he called me up and he said, I'm at this bar with the guys from ILM. I said, "That's great, Steve. It's great. Happy for you." I was still in my low place. "Happy for you, Steve." He said, "No, they want animators." And I was like, I'd seen Steve's computer animation. He brought it into work on his I think it was a Commodore 64 or something, and on it had the typical. I'm so used to this now, but the typical 4 screens. There was a perspective screen, and a orthographic top-down screen, orthographic side, orthographic front. And I'd seen this wireframe kind of setup he had. It was very rudimentary, very basic. And it was kind of cool, but I couldn't see myself ever gravitating towards it, or it didn't appeal to me at all. I loved my pencil. I loved my pencil and paper. And he said, "Yeah, they want animators." So I said, "Steve, you know me." I said, "I don't know how to even use the function buttons on my pocket calculator. That's how bad I am, how technologically impeded I guess I am." He said, no, they want people that are non-technical. I was like, "Why?" They said, "Because at ILM they traditionally would take technical guys and teach them animation, but the software had grown so user-friendly. The software at that time was Softimage, lots of softs, and it's so user-friendly that they would rather spend the time training an animator use the software in like weeks and have an animator at the end of it than try to teach a technical guy animation, which would probably take a lot longer than a few weeks." So I was like, "Oh, that's great. That's great. What do I do?" And he said, "Well, I have their phone number at the hotel room." So he gave me I was grabbing a pen, writing it down. I had this phone number, and I didn't know whether I should call. It was like, they don't know who I am. It's not like they haven't met me. I'm just a friend of someone they had a drink with. So I had this number. I had it for the longest time as well. I remember it took a long... I don't remember what the conversation was necessarily. That bit's a blur. But I do remember procrastinating the hell out of calling this number, because I didn't know what to say. And my biggest dread back then was answer machines. Answer machines. If I had an answer machine instead of a real person, I didn't know what to say. I left the worst messages, the worst. So I called the number and I spoke to them. Whatever I said, or whatever they said, I don't know. But they said, yeah, we'd like to see your portfolio and you should come to the hotel. And I was like, when? And I was like, I can't remember when. It was like a short period, like a couple of days. So I got my portfolio was already together. Everything was ready. It was just being, sent back by Disney, so everything was ready to go. I had everything there. Apparently they had a VHS player at the hotel, so I went, and I can't even remember where the hotel was. I found the hotel, and when I went into the room, it was kind of a suite that they had. They had a suite, and there was three of them. I think the main guy was Tom. Can't remember. He used to be the head of animation, head of one of the heads in ILM. Tom. Damn it. We'll cut this bit out. But they had this suite, and I showed them a portfolio, and everything went swimmingly. Everything went really well. And they looked at the VHS, and they looked at my animation, and everything. They liked it, or they said they did. So I came out of there really optimistic, and which was unusual because I'd come from such a low. I guess I was wanted to grab anything. I was grabbing at tickets, hoping they were gold, So I came out of this meeting, and I felt pretty good about myself. I felt pretty good at how it went. They seemed pretty genuine about that they liked what I'd done. But I didn't want to build my hopes up. And I remember following the interview, a day seemed like a week, and a week seemed like a month, and time just seemed to stop. And every day was another day that they didn't call. It was a long, slow, drawn-out process. And they had asked for me a number to contact me at, and I had just bought a house in Grays in Essex. I'd moved out of my mother's house, and I bought a house, and I had lived there for like about 6 months, maybe 9 months. But it didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone in the house. So I put down my friend's phone number, Kevin Moore. I gave them Kevin Moore's phone number. And I figured, well, at least it's a phone number, so if he gets a phone call, he'll tell me, and I can call them back. And so that's what happened. One night I was at home, and there was a knock on the door, and Kevin was there, and Kevin said, you have a phone call? And I had to, I think I was in pajamas or something. I had to get some shoes on and a sweater, and then ran down the road and took the phone call at his house. And they said they was going to send me some paperwork, and that they really would like me to come on board. And how did January 10th sound? January 10th. It was doing the math. It was December 16th when I got the call. So it was like 3 weeks. Damn it, 3 weeks. I had a house. The house I just bought, that I just lived in for 6-9 months. I had a car that I had to sell. I had furniture in the house. I had to move if I was going to rent it or whatever I was going to do. I ended up renting it. I put all my stuff in storage. I put a lot in the attic. Cleared out the house, made all the rooms bare. I sold my car to my friend. I didn't have a passport, so I had to really fast try and get all that paperwork done. It's not like now where you can do it online. This was going to the post office, asking for the right form, filling out the form, posting it. So it's 3 weeks to get a passport with no internet is scary. And a visa as well, because this is America. This isn't like going to Europe where you just need a passport. This was big. This is where I needed a 10-year passport and I needed a visa in it and everything. So it was. I don't remember too much about that crazy Christmas. It was almost like a Christmas on hold. It was like Christmas was in the way of my flight. I had to get through Christmas and through New Year's, and then I could, I had this new golden ticket. I was working for Industrial Light and Magic. I was working on this movie. It was a contract for Casper, the movie Casper, and it mentioned Steven Spielberg being the producer. And I remember they said when you go to the embassy, just be when you're doing the whole visa process, just be name drop like hell. Mention Steven Spielberg, mention George Lucas, mention Casper, mention a Hollywood movie, mention all those things, and it will help you get your visa. And so I went to the embassy, and it was kind of scary because they're dressed like soldiers. They have automatic rifles, assault rifles, and on straps, and walking around with uniforms on. And there's me going into this building in a big long line, and security checks, and it takes forever. I expected to be there for the whole day, and I'd arrived there really early in the morning. And finally I got to see somebody, and I was nervous because it's almost like they don't have to give you the visa. If that person's having a bad day, they could say no, denied, not give it. So it's kind of it's like the DMV except scarier, because there's more to lose, and believe it or not, it's even slower than the DMV. So it's like DMV on steroids. And so I finally got in front of this guy, and he's like, blah, blah, blah. Oh! Industrial Light and Magic, really? You going to work there? I was like, I'm supposed to. Oh, really? And he was a geek. I was like, a fellow geek. We could speak, we could communicate. Suddenly there was no barrier. Oh, yeah, I'm going to, apparently I'm working for, on this movie. It's Steven Spielberg. Boom, boom, stamp. He's stamping away and proving everything. I was like, oh, this is great. Got my visa and got the hell out of there. And I think I got all the passport stuff done between Christmas and New Year's. It was kind of a crazy week, just because it was between the two holidays, and a lot of things aren't open. They're open for maybe 3 days. So I managed to get everything done, and then off to America.